Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a fascinating analysis that looks at the entire biblical narrative, Genesis all the way to Revelation. And it does this through one single unifying theme, dominion. It's not about layering on external ideas, but really about exposing the Bible's own internal coherence around power and authority. The way they did this research is pretty sharp, too. They didn't just grab standard translations. No, they compared 12 key verses across three really literal versions: Young's literal translation, Charles Thomson's old 1808 Septuagint, and Rotherham's emphasized Bible, really getting close to the original syntax.
Right, and using those specific three helps strip away, later interpretive biases. It lets you track these non-random patterns in the Hebrew and Greek. That's where this whole theme of dominion really shows itself structurally. So the mission essentially was to trace this trajectory, divine dominion, and then delegated dominion right from creation to its, ultimate endpoint.
Okay, let's unpack that starting point then. Genesis 1.28, the analysis calls it the divine charter, right?
Exactly. It's an imperative, a command. And it's given to them, humanity as a whole, a corporate thing, not just one person.
And the specific words used for ruling, they matter.
Oh, absolutely. There are two key Hebrew terms. First is kavash, often translated subdue. It means bringing creation under control, but for beneficial stewardship, using resources wisely, that kind of thing.
Okay, practical management.
Yes. But then there's rada, which is rule.
Yeah.
And that implies something much more significant. It's about acting as God's vice regent, his representative governor on earth. That's the ideal, shared dominion, working in partnership.
So that's the blueprint, but, the analysis argues this ideal breaks down pretty quickly. Where do we see the first signs of failure in this delegated authority structure?
Well, the research points to a kind of tripartite structure for authority: monarchical, kings, priestly, and civil. The failures happen when these spheres get corrupted or their boundaries are crossed. Take King Uzziah, for instance, 2 Chronicles 26. His big failure wasn't losing a battle. It was internal. Pride led him to barge into the temple and usurp the priest's role, burning incense himself. The consequence: leprosy. It shows that delegated power, especially monarchical power, is conditional. Cross the divine boundary and it sort of implodes.
So internal corruption is one failure point. But there's also an external threat, isn't there? A clashing of dominions.
Precisely. It's not just internal decay, it's outright contestation.
Yeah.
You see this starkly in Judges 16. After Samson's capture, the Philistines hold a big celebration, and what do they say? They credit their victory specifically to their god, Dagon.
Ah, so they're framing it directly.
Exactly. It's not just politics or war. It's framed as a spiritual battle. Dagon's dominion versus Yahweh's dominion. It's a contest of sovereignties.
Okay, so the initial mandate is corrupted from within and contested from without. How does the analysis show the kingdom's ethic responding to this? How does it redefine power?
It flips the script entirely. It introduces this radical ethic coupled with a demand for total allegiance. Look at Romans 12.20. If your enemy is hungry, feed him. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. It sounds harsh, but the analysis reads it differently.
Oh, so?
Dominion isn't about destruction anymore. It's exercised through this, almost counterintuitive redemptive love. The goal shifts from eliminating the enemy to potentially transforming them. The coals are maybe conviction, not vengeance.
It's a very different kind of power.
It is, and wielding it requires this intense, unconditional commitment. The model for this is Ruth's declaration in Ruth 1.16. Your people will be my people and your God my God. That's total submission. It's giving up all prior loyalties, national, familial, to align fully with this new divine authority. That's the prerequisite.
So we've gone from the initial mandate through its failures and contestation to this radical redefinition of power through ethics and allegiance. Where does the analysis say this trajectory ultimately leads? What's the final scope?
This is where it gets, really expansive. The conclusion drawn from tracing this theme is pretty staggering. It culminates in what the analysis calls the eschatological consummation. Citing 1 Corinthians 6.3, Paul writes that the redeemed community, the saints, will ultimately judge angels.
Judge angels. So it goes beyond earth entirely.
Way beyond. The trajectory is radically upward. Humanity's role, according to this reading, expands from earthly stewardship, like in Genesis, all the way to exercising cosmic judicial authority.
That completely reframes the whole human story, doesn't it?
It really does. This thematic progression, mandate and failure, then the administration of this delegated power, and finally the consummation of universal dominion. It's argued to be so central, so structural, that The research actually proposes a new way to look at the Bible's structure, a kind of six-part canonical outline based purely on this theme of dominion. It's presented as the narrative's backbone.
Okay, so wrapping this up for you listening. The big takeaway here is that this analysis presents the biblical narrative as this incredibly sophisticated and consistent account of power. How it's granted by God, how it's tragically lost or misused, how it gets redefined through these radical ethics of love and allegiance, and ultimately, how its scope expands to something cosmic.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, building on that. If this analysis holds water, then our struggles here on earth, the daily choices about integrity, how we use authority, how we serve others, they get completely recontextualized, don't they? They become, in a sense, a proving ground, a training exercise for this much larger cosmic responsibility. If the ultimate destiny involves judging angels, think about the level of wisdom, the sheer integrity required for that. What is that demand of how we exercise dominion, even in the small things right now? That's something for you to mull over.